Cody, let's start with the big question everyone's asking first. How do you spell preposterous?
P-R-O-P.
No, obviously, look, we're watching the big episode last night, and so much to get to with it. But the first question that I'm asking, I'm sure everyone else is asking, why give Jesse the idol back after showing it to Carla?
I got hit with the perfect storm there. That will be in my head for a long time. But the situation that played out was Carla had asked, she said, hey, let's show our idols at Tribal. And I said, okay. So I grab it from Jesse and I have it in my hand. And Jesse did a great job and said, hey, man, I think she may have a knowledge is power. And I sat there and I processed it. It ran in my head throughout the day leading up to Tribal Council. And as I was showing Carla, I was like, I don't trust this girl. And Jesse never asked for the idol back. And right before Tribal Council, I was like, hey, man, we played this game for 21 days together. We ride or dies. He wouldn't steer me wrong. And I gave it back last minute. So he played a good game, man. And he spooked me there last minute with that comment. And him not asking for it back is what ultimately had me give it back, because that was our token of trust.
I do get it with that whole knowledge is power being out there. And, we saw watching TV, Gio had it. They put it back in. James had it. You could think they're going to put it back in. So I do get it.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction then when Jesse stands up and he plays the idol for Owen? What are you thinking at that point?
I knew I was gone. I knew that was it. And that was probably the maddest I've ever been, because when he stood up, when he gave it to the idol to Jeff, my idol, he came back and he fist bumps Owen and they both like smile and laugh. And I'm just like, dude, that's dirty, bro. I cannot, don't do that. Like, that was when I never been that mad in my life. Like, I just like got betrayed with another, that was tough. So I knew I was gone, but the part of them fist bumping and like smiling and like, I'm like, what? Did the last 21 days of building a relationship mean nothing to you?
There's that moment, Cody, where like he puts his hand out to you, right? As you're starting to walk by him to get your torch snuff. And you look, and it looked to us, at least it looked to me, like you didn't quite know how to react for a second. Like you're deliberating, do I shake this guy's hand? Do I keep walking? Do I give him a piece of my mind? So tell me what you were thinking at that moment.
Or do I push him in the fire?
Right.
I was numb, bro. There wasn't, at that point, I literally was like, you sank both our ships because you're next. You have no protection. Not here to help you. You just burned our idol. You're done. You just made that move that you're gone at 5. You sank both our ships. So I just turned into who I am as a man, and shook his hand, gave him a hug, and that's what I resorted to. Took the high road.
Yeah, he said he did it because this was a big move for you that you were making on Carla, and that you're going to get credit for it, and that you're a bigger personality than him, and he's worried how he's going to do if you two are sitting next to each other at the end. So how do you think you do if you make it to the end? Let's just say this doesn't happen. Let's say you roll on to the final 3. Are you cashing $1 million check?
Listen, man, I played this through my head 1,000 times, talked to some fellow contestants. I think if I just play that idol as a conservative Survivor player would play, or maybe as a astute Survivor player would, all 3 of us play idols. Jesse comes out and shows that he has one. Now he becomes a threat. He's gone at 5. I think I got a really good shot at winning that $1 million. I think my profession and my charisma would have had the jury voting for me.
Beware the salespeople, right?
For real.
Would have sealed the deal. Who do you want to sit?
Man.
Who do you want to sit to at the end? What was your ideal final 3?
From the very first day when we carried the boxers on the beach on the first challenge, I remember I went back, helped Jesse with his box, and we looked at each other. We said, we start this game, we finish this game together. So, that was my part of my strategy. So Jesse was one of them. I wanted to go with Gabler. And then, honestly, I was fine with anybody else. Really thought about Owen. I wanted maybe Owen. So, yeah, Jesse, Gabler, and Owen was, I guess that's 3 additional plus me. But Like I
Any
said,
one of
it's
them.
7 a.m. here, so cut me some slack, bro.
I've seen it go both ways, Cody, when someone just gets like just blindsided in such a brutal fashion like you do. I've seen some people where kind of after the moment wears off a little bit, like, oh, all right, I get it, whatever. And I've seen other people where it goes the other way. Like you said, you took the high road where then they think about it more and they get even more upset about it. How were you once you got back to Ponderosa, once the camera turned off? How are you dealing with the whole situation?
Yeah, man. Once I walked out of there when my torch was snuffed, you get put in a tent prior to your final interview, and I damn near ripped it down. I had a scene in there, as if I was in a gang fight in a tent by myself, just going kicking and screaming and going crazy. So I had that moment. Went back to Ponderosa. The rest of the rest of the gang's there, and they're there to support, and they get it. I'm not the only one, believe it or not, everybody in that show is blindsided out of there. I'm not the only one that experienced it. So it was good to have some drinks. It was good to have some talks. I had a good cry. I stayed up all night. It slowly wore off. The next tribal was a day or two away, and there's so much action going on that you don't get a lot of time to really, woe is me, mentality.
When I was watching that episode last night, and I'm watching you like, I don't know, like turning into Michael Jackson on the beach with your dance moves. I mean, you were pretty hopped up on coffee and Danishes after that trip to the sanctuary. Was there a caffeine and sugar crash later, Cody, that we didn't see?
Bro, so I've thought about this, and watching that show last night made me really kind of confirm it. I was smashing coffee and Danishes like they were going out of style. And that day, they didn't show this on the scene, but I was gathering firewood everywhere you couldn't imagine. I was buzzing. And that night, I couldn't sleep. I was up all night. I literally was up all night, just freaking miserable, just wide awake. And the next day, I was like, what? The crash was coming. You did it, you knucklehead. You stayed. What did you need to eat all that and drink all that coffee for? And I'll never forget, we get electrolyte packs. And you get one a day out there. I don't know if I'm supposed to disclose that, but I stole everybody else's while I was out there, because I was like, I need this sugar, because you'd get a little bit of a when you had it. And I'll never forget, one of the challenge, and I had stolen everybody else's because I'm like, I need this. This is crunch time. And I was chugging them, right? Drinking them. And I don't know how many I had, too many. And I remember after the challenge, normally I go back and I strategize and I talk and I listen. I was so jacked up that when I got off the boat, I'm like, hey, I got a plan. Let's go do this. Let's do that. It's almost, I've had those days in meetings at work where I drink too much coffee in the morning, and we've all been there, where you can't quite digest and process your thoughts. And watching that episode, dancing around, having a good time, really made me think that was part of my decision-making process to try to make a move without any protection. And I guess I'll never know for sure, but I got a pretty good idea that it didn't help.
Oh man, done in by the Survivor Sanctuary. Not the first person.
Yeah, bro.
Not the last either. I love hearing that. Like, I love that there's so much I always ask people, because there's so much that doesn't make it to TV. You're out there 24 hours a day, and like they can only put a few minutes into the actual episode. Is there something else that happened out there, Cody, that didn't make it to TV that you wish we could have seen? Something in the moment you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this play out, or I can't wait to, and then it's never there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot, right? The game is, there's a couple days in every episode. And I think one is I wish they would have showed a little bit more of like the sleeping arrangements and the nighttime of what was going on, because it is dark out. You can't see anything. At Bessie, we didn't have a fire for 8 days. Like, getting up to go to the bathroom is like the worst. You're tripping over things. And even sleeping at night, we had what we called them bush babies. Neka made a nickname for them, bush babies. These birds that would cry all night, and like a murder scene, and then they would crawl over top of you, just starving. And these birds that are like the size of pigeons are walking over top of you. So the evenings, I think I wish I would have seen more of, because they were lighthearted and fun. And I don't think I think maybe people wonder how we got by at night.
Yeah.
Obviously we slept, but there's still a lot of things. I mean, I can remember me and Jesse fist pounding at nighttime, and yeah. I wish you would have showed more of the evenings.
How much did it just rip you up to vote NECA out? And does that still gnaw at you a little bit?
I was so gutted that night. I told myself, I don't want to do that again. And it played a big part of my later portion of my game to why I couldn't turn on Jesse. I didn't have it in me, because I had after the NECA vote, I was gutted so bad that I was like, I'm not going through that again. It was my Achilles heel at the end of the day.
Would you go back and play again if they invited you, Cody? Would you go back and do this whole thing over again?
Yeah, man, I got some redemption, bro. Like, and goddamn Danishes and coffee cost me $1 million. $1 million Danishes.
After everything you went through on this show, are you still living to get radical?
Automatic, dude. I went, after the game, a lot of people went right back to work. And I was like, wow. I traveled for about 4 to 5 months and really sent it during that time. I mean, I got my radical shirt on right now with Patrick Swayze. Funny thing is, I actually made these shirts for the watch parties and I put my own face on there. So those were a lot of fun. But yeah, dude, I'll be that way forever. It's the only way to live. And I think I played it in a game like that too. And I really enjoyed that experience because of that reasoning.
Hey man, it was fun to watch, right? You brought the fun, you brought the entertainment. And I'll be honest, I thought you were just going to be a sort of this goofy guy, some comic relief. And then we see from that very first immunity challenge, you outsmarted the producers on getting the key. I'm like, this guy actually's got game. He knows what he's doing. It was the whole package. It was super fun to watch, Cody.
I appreciate that.